update you on all the running stories, and connect you to the newsmakers.
City
News.
It's midday. Hello, good afternoon to you, and welcome to the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Morton Loop in Adabraka, Accra. The news is also live on all our partner stations across the country and around the world. We are live on citynewsroom.com. My name is Hawa Idrisu Mustafa, and this afternoon I'm here with
Kweku Ediamansa.
Coming up, High Court dismisses stay of proceedings application by lawyers for embattled Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Jachi Kwesin. We'll take you live to the court shortly. Meanwhile, the minority side in Parliament has for the second time boycotted sit-ins in support for James Jachi Kwesin. Still ahead, members of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana CTAG to declare a strike on August 1 if government fails to implement negotiated allowances.
We had a meeting on Wednesday. The minister did take wages, and all that they told us was that they are yet to resolve the issues, so we should give them more time. In actual fact, members were not pleased.
And later, we'll bring you a report about how the Pokwasi interchange, constructed a little over 2 years ago, is defacing due to lack of proper maintenance. The news is live on all our affiliates across the country. In the Western region, we are live on Premier FM 100.5 in Takoradi, Beach FM 105.5 also in Takoradi. In the Bono region, we are live on Greener FM 95.9 in Sunyani, Ashanti region, Orange FM 107.9 in Kumasi, Volta region, we are live on Global FM 105.1 in Ho, Adanu FM 107.7 in Adakluwaya. Northern region, we are live on Diamond FM 93.7 in Tamale. Upper West, Westlink 88.1 in Laura. Upper East, we are live on Source FM 100.1 in Boku. And Northeast region, we are live on Scarp FM 101.3 in Nakpanduri.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Grateful for choosing us. Let's start the bulletin from Parliament. The minority in Parliament has for the second time boycotted sit-ins in Parliament due to the trial of the Asin North Member of Parliament, James Jachi Kwesin. The High Court today delivered a ruling on the application for stay of proceedings in the case involving the Asin North MP. Lawyers for the embattled MP have moved an application for the court to stay proceedings to allow for the court to hear its appeal. Now, due to this, the minority caucus has boycotted or abandoned parliamentary business due to the ongoing trial of one of them, which is the Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Jachi Kwesin. But the majority leader, Seche Mensah Bonsu, was forced to vary the order of business due to the absence of the minority MPs to ask questions scheduled for the Ministers of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs and the Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministries.
I guess we may have to have some discussions on the way forward about those questions. The people to ask the questions are not available. The ministers have come to the House, but the persons who ask those questions are not available. So as I'm saying, subsequent to this, we may have to meet and then decide the way forward with such questions, especially as the responses have been given. But it cannot be a decision by me alone. We have to have some determination made on that. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe we can now go to the presentation of papers.
That was the majority leader in Parliament, Oseche Mensah Bonsu. So let's go live to the House and speak to our parliamentary correspondent, Ni Ayukwe Okaim. Good afternoon to you, Ni Ayukwe. Many thanks for your time. Tell us about today's sitting. We understand the minority side has for the second time boycotted parliamentary business.
Well, that is exactly the case. Today, the minority in Parliament has boycotted business activities in the House due to the ongoing trial of one of their members, the Member of Parliament for Aston North, James Jachi Quayson. We know that the court is supposed to sit on a stay of prosecution, to rule on a stay of prosecution proceeding, which has been laid before it. And due to this, the minority have decided to go to the court to solidarize with their colleague. Hence, business activities have been abandoned by the minority. Today, we saw only a few of the majority MPs, less than 10 actually, in the House to conduct business activities.
Has sitting been suspended or sitting is still ongoing with just the majority side?
So we're expecting that some members of the minority caucus would put questions to the Minister for Religious Affairs and Chieftaincy. We have Member of Parliament for Central Town, Elizabeth Alexander, who is supposed to put a question to the Chieftaincy Minister. The Lassoa is also supposed to ask a question, and then Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, who is the MP for Parliament Central, is also supposed to ask question to the Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. We were also expecting that Francis Xavier-Sosu would also put a question to the Gender, Children and Social Protection Minister. And then Kwame Dujoli-Gaspé, that's the MP for Keta, was also supposed to ask a question. But due to their absence, the majority leader, Saichi Mensah, proposed that the business activities of the House be buried for the presentation of papers and reports to be done, because once they are not available, of course, the questions cannot be asked, although the ministers were available in Parliament to answer those questions. So they actually buried the business of the House, expecting that some reports could be taken. Unfortunately, the chairman of the committees that are supposed to also present these reports, that's the Mines and Energy Committee, Samuel Akachia, was not available, as well as some other chairmen of other committees. They were also not in the House and lay these reports. So the majority leader, Saichi Mensah, proposed that if they are not available, then he would suggest that the House suspends for about 15 minutes just to see if they would be able to get the numbers to be able to embark on business activities. So currently, proceedings have been suspended for 15 minutes, and we are expecting that when we return, we could see some of these majority MPs, as the chairman of some of the committees, come into the House to present some of the reports. Other than that, the House would have no other option than to adjourn sittings again today.
Very well, grateful for your time, Parliamentary Correspondent Ni Ayukwe Okande. Let's now move to the High Court, where my colleague Hansen Ajuman is on standby. Hansen, the minority members in Parliament are not in the House as we speak. Are they in court? Hello, Hansen? Hello, Hansen? Hansen Ajuman, can you hear me? We will try and reconnect the lines and speak to our court correspondent, Hansen Ajuman, who is in court. Now, we understand that the High Court has dismissed the stay of proceedings application by lawyers for embattled Member of Parliament for Assin North, James Jachi Quayson. We are trying to reconnect the lines and speak to our colleague who is in court, Hansen Ajuman. Hansen, good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time. If you can hear me, we just spoke to Nia Yukwe, where we understand that the minority members are not in the House due to their support for the embattled Assin North MP. Have you spotted these MPs in the court?
Well, yes, these MPs are in the court together with their leadership, so minority leader Keselato Forsen, as well as his deputy, Ama Kofibwa, and also Chief Whip Agbeja. They are all here. The court is actually over now. The Deputy Attorney General is addressing the press.
Hassan, is it possible to get what the Deputy AG is saying?
Honorable, so you see a point as though Mr. Tajiti Kata is trying to use strategy, if not getting it from the ruling, getting it one way or the other.
Oh, he may have a strategy, but there's a limit. as I indicated earlier to your other colleagues, we're in a court of law. The court is manned by judges. They control their proceedings, and judges are wide awake. This judge, in her judgment, made it clear as to whether to adjourn or not is within her president. And judges, at least, must be that kind of respect that they have the right to adjourn to a day or any other day. If the ruling is delivered, that's done in this case. If anyone is aggrieved, if the accused agrees, it's within his right to go to appellate court. If he goes there, we are ready for him.
I mean, the ruling on the day-to-day trial was given June 16. We are in July 11, and we are going back and forth on applications to rescind this decision. Do you think it's time to perhaps agree with them and ask the court not to do a day-to-day trial so that the case can proceed? It's rather unfortunate they have to go through this route. I mean, if you are in court and the matter is being heard in court, it's expected that the matter should be heard. But if you want to deploy delay tactics, there is a point that you can go. You may want to appeal, which will not begrudge you, but your filing of a process at the Court of Appeal will not stay the proceedings in the High Court. So we are also now saying that on Friday, the matter is going to continue unless something happens. Is your first witness ready?
Our first witness has been in court. He's been cross-examined for over 1.5 hours. They have about 30 minutes or so to finish the cross-examination of our first witness. On Friday, when we come, he's going to testify. He's going to be in the box for this to finish up the cross-examination if it's within the remit of the court on Friday.
From the indication given to us, it appears that you'll be having two applications at the Court of Appeal, one asking for the stay of proceedings and one asking for a reversal of the day-to-day hearing. How far do you think this will go? Would these be addressed soon?
If they choose to file an application at the Court of Appeal, we are also ready. After all, we've been trained as lawyers, just like farmers who go to their farms to work. We are also lawyers who come to court to work. If they want us to go and work in court daily, we are ready. That's the sense of our payment by the taxpayer like you. So we are ready to go to court if they want us to be in court.
Thank you very much. So, Howard, you heard the Deputy Attorney General, right, Alfred Yeboah, speaking to us there after proceedings in court today. So the stay of proceedings application by lawyers of James Jackie-Quayson has been dismissed by the court. And essentially, lawyers of James Jackie-Quayson were saying that if the court does not grant this stay of proceedings, they'll be prejudging their application for a variation of the court orders to try the matter on day-to-day basis. They also argued that if this matter is not stayed, it will bring some irreparable damage to them. But the judge, after considering arguments on both sides, indicated that one, the filing of a stay of proceedings does not in any way warrant the judge. The filing of a stay of proceedings in itself does not warrant the court in staying the proceedings, and that staying proceedings is a discretionary matter that the court will have to use in accordance with stated regulations, and also considering exceptional circumstances in which, if the matter is not stayed, it would in a way affect the case of the applicant. In the reasoning of the judge, if you look at this matter, the case that has been appealed actually is just a matter of whether the case should be heard on day-to-day basis and not on whether the accused should stand trial. And so for the judge, whether or not this is stayed, the accused will still be standing trial. And so there's nothing exceptional here to warrant the granting of a stay of proceedings application. And so this has been dismissed by the court. The lawyers for James Jackie-Quayson, they are not happy about this move. They have indicated that they are going to file an application at the Court of Appeal, asking the Court of Appeal to stay proceedings.
Hassan, when do they intend to file this stay of application at the appeals court?
Well, so the lawyers of James Jackie-Quayson, after proceedings led by Tati Chikata, made known the point that they will be hoping to file an application for a stay of proceedings at the Court of Appeal. And so wanted the court to take this into consideration in adjourning the matter. From all interactions that went on, it appears that the court was seeking to adjourning the matter to tomorrow. But the lawyers indicated that they are hoping to do that that application, to file that application to the Court of Appeal tomorrow. And so, from all indications, we are expecting that lawyers for James Jachikwason will file this application tomorrow.
Hans, we had the Deputy AG, Alfred Tuyayeboa, saying that Friday they'll be back in court. Does that mean the case was adjourned to Friday? And is this referring to this coming Friday, which is July 14?
Certainly. So on July 14, the parties will return to court. The state will call its first witness, and the cross-examination of this first witness will continue. And depending on how matters go, either the state the court will discharge this first witness, and then the state will be ready to call the second witness if there's any.
Was Mr. Jachikwason in court himself today?
Yes, he was in court together with some minority MPs that we indicated, and as well as some NPP known personalities who have indicated of their commitment to throw their support behind him as he undergoes this trial.
Grateful for your time. That was our court correspondent, Hansen Ajuman, bringing us the details from the High Court, where we understand the application for stay of proceedings by lawyers for embattled Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Jachikwason, has been dismissed. Now, lawyers for the embattled MP say they will appeal their case tomorrow at the appeals court. This is still the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. Quick will bring us our next story.
Now, the Coalition of Individual Bondholders Group has suspended its intended picketing at the premises of the Finance Ministry today following the government's payment of outstanding principals and coupons. The group, however, says it will resume picketing if the government fails to implement the terms of a memorandum of understanding signed on the 16th of May 2023. Now, the government, in a statement last night, said it had settled all outstanding principals and coupons owed individual bondholders up until June 19, 2023. It also revealed that instructions have also been sent for the payment of coupons which were due on July 10. Meanwhile, convener of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, Dr. Aduana Nientri, says he hopes government will honor its promise.
As at the time we had our last picketing, there were 7 outstanding coupons. The government started paying, and so we suspended the picketing. However, government paid only 6 out of the 7. The one that was not paid was due on the 26th of June. On the 3rd July, another one became due. But we still said we were going to give government some time, even though government has assured us that it was going to prioritize the payment of these coupons. Another one became due yesterday, making it 3 outstanding now. We're monitoring the situation, believing that government will not allow it to be there for long. Otherwise, if it was going to be mounting, otherwise are going to be part of the coupons remaining unpaid, we're going to look at returning to the picketing grounds. Fortunately, yesterday, a statement that was issued by government in response to the intended picketing by the other individual bondholders group, government has stated in the statement that it had given instruction for the payment of these 3 outstandings. That being the case, we know that the 3 are going to be paid. And we are hoping that the ones that will become due from next Monday, the assurance government has given that it is going to prioritize the payment. That assurance would be followed through for these payments to be done as soon as they are due. So let's see what will happen going into next week and the coming weeks.
Dr. Aduana Nientri is the convener of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum.
This is still the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM Stories. We've been bringing you this. High Court dismisses stay of proceedings application by lawyers for embattled Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Jachi Kwesi. We took you to Parliament where the minority side has for the second time boycotted parliamentary business in support for their colleague James Jachi Kwesi. Still ahead, members of the Colleges of Education, Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, to declare a strike on August 1 if government fails to implement negotiated allowances. We have details of that, plus other stories coming up shortly. Please don't go away.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, members of the College of Education, Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, have declared their intentions to lay down their tools from August 1, 2023. The association explains that this has become necessary following the failure of government to implement conditions of service agreed upon earlier this year. The president of CTAG, Prince Obinhima, tells Citi News the current economic situation makes it impossible for members to survive the current payment plan.
We expected the Finance Ministry to have used the month of May to gather the necessary documents on the personnel to be paid so that by June it will have been paid. It wasn't paid in June as well, and we are in July. Can you imagine the fact that when this thing has not been paid, what it means is that we are still living on the expired 2021 conditions of service. And in the biting economy that we all find ourselves in, it's simply impossible to do that. How do you fuel your car with the same amount of fuel allowance that were being given in 2021 when we are in 2023 and things have quadrupled and stuff like that? So that's why we're saying that knowing processes that we go through before salary payments are done at the end of the month. Around this time is when controller finance, they are putting their things together. They have to work very fast so that they pay us at the end of the month. And we have also used this golden opportunity to raise issue about the all year round killer program that we have when tutors do not rest at all. Money is not everything in the world. We are simply saying that if we are even going to be compensated with all the money in the country, we won't participate in the all year round teaching. We want the system to adopt the in, out, in approach so that all the students, cohorts of students will be on campus. They'll finish the academic year, and then there will be that mandatory semester break for the tutors to rest so that we wouldn't die before our natural death.
Mr. Obinhima added that government has up till the end of July 31 to act.
Considering the drama we had to go through before the negotiation even ended, we are always suspecting that there is that deliberate feet dragging by government agencies because negotiation that ought to have been completed within 6 years. We couldn't finish after a year plus. It took National Labour Commission to bring us on board. And when we have finished, simply authorizing payment for the payment to be effected, it's also taking months. So if you have all these things to deal with, we have no option than to think that it's deliberate. We're waiting till the last day of July so that if we are not paid, then we have already commenced the processes by authorizing our lawyers to write to the National Labour Commission in fulfillment of the labour laws so that we would have done the needful in the face of the law by July 31st if we are not paid. So we withdraw our services until such a time that the conditions of service are paid, until such a time that the all year round compensation for the teachers, is also paid, until such a time that we'll have a clear roadmap as to which academic calendar we are pursuing, 2023, 2024, and then we'll be clear in our minds that the tutors are going to have the mandatory inter-semester break.
Prince Obinhima is president of CTAG.
We turn attention to some other stories, and the former Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Efri Akoto, has bemoaned the lack of lending credit to farmers. According to the NPP flag bearer hopeful, the current situation is inimical to the development of the sector. Now, speaking to the media, the NPP flag bearer hopeful, Dr. Akoto Efri, said a major push of the agricultural sector will be beneficial to stabilizing the economy.
There's a very clear case of shortage of agricultural credit. The banks are not lending. At the last count, only 3.1% of total agricultural credit, or total credit in lending by the banks went to agriculture. And even then, most of that is for cocoa purchases, not real production or marketing or processing. So we have, when I left, we had this discussion that I brought to cabinet so that legislation can be put in place. We're discussing with the bankers and so on how to factor that legislation to ensure that the banks actually lend to support farmers in the work that they do. In addition to that, I left in my office the Horticultural Development Authority and then the Poultry Development Authority. These two were in the pipeline, and I'm hoping that they will come into, eventually travel through the system to go to Parliament for the creation of these institutions, which will then drive the development of the various subsectors of agriculture to transform this country into a country, a first world country, by generating more than enough foreign exchange and local revenue to fund our development.
Meanwhile, Dr. Efria Akoto is imploring the Speaker of Parliament and parliamentarians to expedite processes to pass a bill to institutionalize the Green Development Authority.
Apart from the Tree Crop Development Authority, there are others. For instance, we have the Grain Development Authority lying in Parliament for the last 6 months. I appeal to the Speaker of Parliament through this medium to ensure that that legislation comes through so that we can establish the Grain Development Authority along the same lines as the Tree Crop and the Cocoa Board authorities, and to promote the development and the volume of exports of grains and to reduce our food security to the minimum. There's this fanciful idea that smallholders cannot deliver. They've delivered a global industry like cocoa for Ghana for 100 years. So why do you think they cannot do the same for the others if you support them? And Planting for Food and Jobs, my lesson from it is that in addition to the tree crop of cocoa, which we are now, hopefully with this new financing, will diversify into other crops so we can earn more foreign exchange. In order that we can use the additional foreign exchange to finance our industrialization.
Dr. Akoto Efria is a former agric minister and an NPP flag bearer hopeful.
Now, the absence of a facility management team for the Pokwasi interchange, which is valued at approximately $94 million, has created an opportunity for unidentified individuals to damage the infrastructure. This unfortunate situation has raised concerns among residents and pedestrians who utilize the interchange regularly. They are urging the authorities to increase their monitoring and maintenance effort to ensure the proper upkeep of the facility. There is more in the following report.
The Pokwasi Interchange, the largest interchange in West Africa, is a critical road project linking the Central Road Corridor, which is the strategic road connecting the port of Tema to Kumasi, Ghana's second largest major city, and onto Burkina Faso. The project is intended to stimulate industrialization, provide income-generating opportunities, promote affordable transport services, and generally improve the livelihoods of people in the project area. A recent visit by Citi News to the project area, which was commissioned about 2 years ago, revealed that the beauty of the original design appears to be fading away due to the lack of a monitoring team. The green concept of the infrastructure, which was originally to plant flowers, garden, and trees at some selected median of the street, have been left unattended, thus giving rise to weeds. Some of the main street lights have also become faulty. Some pedestrians have been speaking to Citi News on this development.
Yes, really, no maintenance. I can see Ghana in whole. Every time, every road, there's a lack of maintenance. Look at the roadside. This is not flower, and this is not flower. It's a bush, whereby they have to do all those things. And the electric post, if the bulbs die, they didn't repair it. If they are doing their jobs, I know these things may not happen. So those who are for this job have to wake up and do the job.
Maintenance of the road, our Ghana has seen very poor.
Generally, road maintenance across the country is poor. The flowers planted in the median of the streets have withered away. Rather, it has been placed with weeds which have been left unattended. Some of the street lights function, while others do not.
Street lights, you baby almost on. Am I any solar? But in so talk now in so native ya, you do an adua. Intimi juma.
A walk on the pedestrian footbridge revealed that some unknown persons have stolen the cables which power the pedestrian street lights. A great number of the handrails along the stretch had also been taken off by these unidentified men, reducing the beauty of the project. A stroll into some inlets of the community also revealed that some residents have cut the roads to lay their waste pipes to the gutters without recourse to law. City News checks with the area also confirmed that some residents have even attempted to drill boreholes at areas holding water. Desmond Yao Hodanun Bedi, a resident in the area who was the QC manager of the project, has been highlighting how some community members are defacing the project.
There's the street lights and the walkways lights which cables have been pulled out. This currently won't be a good situation for the people of Pokwase. When we were handing over, our note was that we cautioned them to be vigilant and also be citizens of this country and not only spectators. So when we happen to pass by and we see such an infrastructure being damaged of these states, we had sort of hard feeling for the sponsors and also the country as a whole. Our caution is that we should report such issues to the police. I'm very sure if the states do not have a keen look into this particular issues relating to the Pokwase interchange, it wouldn't be what the designers or what the dreamers actually thought the project would have been. We are of the view that a second look should be given to the Pokwase interchange, for it being the first of its kind within the Sub-Saharan and first in West Africa. I think this one should be well looked at.
The project engineer, Kobna Bengpon, also indicated that the Ministry of Roads has assured of putting up a team in monitoring and maintaining the interchange.
The interchange and the roads were done to the best, of quality. But unfortunately, that is not what we are finding. Look, the greens that we have in the medians, and they cost us a lot of money. Please, we need to maintain our national monuments. This is a monument for Ghana. And I know I have already spoken to my bosses, in the Ministry of Roads and Highways and the Department of Urban Roads. And they've given me indication, which I'm working towards, trying to get a team that will be responsible for the management of the interchange so that we can maintain its national pride and ensure that it is in the best shape at all times. So this is, and of course, there's also another thing which I've always spoken about, the drivers. When there's an accident, they have to report. Those also who pour fuels and oils or lubricants in general on the road surface. This is asphalt. It is going to dissolve. This is, it's like you're putting a solute onto a material that will dissolve. It will just dissolve it. So please, they should, stop doing that.
The report was put together by Citi News' Emmanuel Opon. Now, the National Food Suppliers Association just ended a meeting with the Minister of Education, Dr. Yawase Educhum, at the Education Ministry. We are joined on the phone lines by the spokesperson for the National Food Suppliers Association, Kweku Amedume. Good afternoon to you, sir. Many thanks for your time. What was the outcome of today's meeting with the Education Minister in the payment of your 270 million cedis arrears the government owes you?
Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon to your listeners. Yes, today we had a meeting with the minister, and he told us since 2001, he's paid a total amount of 418 million Ghana cedis to the buffer stock for the payment of supplies made to buffer stock by the Suppliers, Food Suppliers Association. Our point here is that the minister also said that they are making preparations to give us part payment of what we are claiming now. But if you follow our story so far, we are saying that for the entire 2022 supply that we did, government has not paid a dime out of that amount. And so if the minister is saying that in 2022 he has released a total amount of 2,283 million Ghana cedis, and then later 35 million cedis, which represents the total arrears that was owed us in 2022. We don't know why, after long agitation, we are now being told that this week we are going to be given part of our entire arrears that we're looking for. This money that has been is contracted from the bank, and having paid the total amount to buffer stock, we just think that buffer stock just released on to us in full. Indeed, if the second amount is released to buffer stock as claimed by the Minister of Education, there is no reason or no excuse why that money cannot be suppliers for the suppliers to be able to defray their indebtedness to the various banks. I think it is unacceptable for our members to accept a fraction of the entire money when the minister has made allegations that he had released all them into 2023. If for anything at all, we should be taking the total amount of our money, because the entire amount was released in 2022. According to the minister, somewhere in December, December 2022, he released that amount to the buffer stock company. So the question now is, how was the money spent? And who were the people who took that money from buffer stock without the suppliers? We must find out, and our money must be paid to us.
Now, your statement mentioned that an amount of 35 million was released in January as part payment. It means that your members didn't receive that 35 million cedis at all?
The 35 was the latest amount released to the buffer stock, but it is in fulfillment of the arrears. You know that 283 million that was released earlier was part payment of the arrears in 2022. But the 35 also went to add up to make a full payment of the 2022 arrears. So in 2022, Ministry of Education does not owe, or the finance does not owe us any arrears. The only arrears that we have now is with buffer stock. And so buffer stock must be the one to be giving us explanation as to how that money was dispersed, that our membership didn't take a penny out of it.
Very well. Now, per your statement again, you said the Finance Ministry, according to the Education Minister, is in the process of releasing part of the arrears to be paid in the course of the week, and that the government cannot pay in full. You are saying you will not accept the part payment?
Yes, we will not accept the part payment because the arrears in 2022 had been released, and we want that money. So if there's any money coming at all, it should just go to add to make a total payment to us. It is not in the wrong place for us to be asking the money that had been released to buffer stock already to be paid to us. That money was supposed to be paid earlier than today. So if there's any money coming at all, it should be to complement the earlier money released to buffer stock. It is not to settle part payment of the total amount. My sister, this is a debt that had been lingering for the past 2 years. Calculate the devaluation. Calculate the interest that has accumulated so far. Look at the condition of the membership. We cannot take half payment because the debtors are not. Half payment will not solve our problem. Here is the case. We are no longer doing the supplies. People are doing the supplies that are being paid regular. Why not give us our money? That is our point.
Government has said it is not in a position to pay the full monies to you. What do you intend to do this week? Because government says I can only give you part payment. You are saying you're not going to accept. What do you intend to do again?
We have not exhausted the meeting processes yet. We are yet to meet with the Minister of Agric. We are yet to meet with the buffer stock. But we want to relate what we have what we have heard now from the minister to the entire general public and also to the media, that this is what we have been told so far, and this is what we've been told to expect. But we are also putting it across that what they're asking us to accept, it is untenable, and it will not solve the problem of membership because government has taken out of business. And having taken out of business, we need to defray our cost. We need to pay our debt. Our debts are lingering on, and these older people are suffering and are languishing in abject poverty. We must settle this amount in full.
Does your options include legal action and then picketing again?
We will get there when we cross it.
Grateful for your time. That was a spokesperson for the National Food Suppliers Association, Kweku Amedume, who just ended a meeting with the Education Minister. Now the news is that government says they will pay part of the monies they owe the suppliers. The suppliers are therefore saying they will not accept any part payment from the government. Now the coming weeks will tell what next options are available to the food suppliers. Kweku, what next do you have?
So we'll take you to the Ashanti region now because environmental health officers from the Oforikrom Municipal Assembly have carried out a fumigation exercise at the Amena Cemetery. This follows the destruction of the community cemetery by a developer who claims ownership of the land. The development led to the exhumation of some bodies and the opening of graves, raising concerns about potential environmental and health impact on the community. Now, the environmental health officer at the Oforikrom Municipal Assembly, Constance Akuka, tells City News that the intervention is to prevent the possible outbreak of diseases in the area.
It's a burial ground, and every person is buried here. And then people die of sicknesses. We don't know the type of sicknesses that have killed a lot of people that they have buried here. So to prevent escalation of maybe if there's any outbreak, that's why we have come to spray the place.
But will it be within the cemetery or
yes,
you go?
The cemetery. Because if we want to say we can spray all the houses, we cannot. So it's within the cemetery. Time to come, we'll come back again and then continue with the spraying again. We won't do it once. We'll come back again and spray.
But
we are hoping that nothing happens because it's a long time. It's not first fresh burial, but we are hoping that nothing happens. But prevention is better than to cure. That is why we have come to prevent things not to escalate in case there's something.
What would be your advice to people who live close to the cemetery?
People are not even supposed to build at the cemetery. All the land they have built is the cemetery. But I don't know how they got the land and built here. They are not supposed to build there. So we advise that they shouldn't, when they are acquiring a land, they should ask further. They should question about the land they are buying so that they will not go and buy a land that belongs to the cemetery.
Environmental Health Officer at the Oforikrom Municipal Assembly in the Ashanti region, Constance Akuka. Meanwhile, the Assembly member for Boadi, Emina Piadu, and Kokobing electoral area, Kenneth Owusu Bediako, appealed to the youth to exercise restraint as health officers address the concerns.
The youth are even at a radio station, though I would say peace has prevailed, but they have certain things that needs to be addressed, especially from Menchia. So they are the FM station to voice out some of their displeasures, even though they've been calmed not to bring any mayhem upon the community. But as we speak, they still have certain concerns that needs to be addressed, and we are pulling our strengths to ensure that those things are settled so that we live peacefully within the community.
So what will happen now? We are told that some of the graves are still left uncovered. What will happen to them?
As I said, the first thing that needed to be done was the fumigation. Once it has been done, arrangement is being made by the assembly to get extra sand to ensure that graves that are yet open are covered, to ensure that nothing befalls the area. My good words to the youth is that it is quite disheartening for you to see your uncles, fathers, brothers, sisters who are now resting for their graves to be opened. I sincerely bear with whatever pains they are going through. But as the issue is now in the hands of the security agencies, I will plead with them to calm down so that the security agencies takes up the matter and ensure that it gets to its direct conclusion. So they should give peace a chance to reign within Emina so that we can all live as one people.
You heard there Kenneth Owusu-Bediako, who is Assembly Member for Bwedi, Emina Piedu and Kokobing electoral area in the Ashanti region.
You're still listening to the Citi Prime News on 97.3 CTFM. Still to come, we take you back to Parliament, where the majority side is pleading with the minority to rescind their decision to boycott parliamentary business due to the prosecution of some members on the minority side. Please don't go away.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
1xBet jackpot is here with weekly massive prizes up for grabs. All you have to do is place your bets on any sports game and stand a chance to win. Simply register at 1xbet.com.gh. Use promo code JackpotGhana and place your bets. 1xBet is your key to great victories. Feel like a winner. 1xBet. Gambling can be addictive. Bet responsibly. Not for person under 18 years. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission.
Home is your sanctuary. So set the mood with candles, fragrances, ambient lighting, and beautiful art to create that unique atmosphere that feels like home. Visit the Orca Deco Superstore on Spinks Road today.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. The Member of Parliament for Okaikwe Central, Patrick Yabuama, is appealing to the minority to rescind its decision to boycott business activities in Parliament due to the prosecution of its members. This comes after the caucus on Tuesday abandoned for the second time parliamentary proceedings to solidarize with the Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Jachikwesin, who is facing trial at the court. Speaking to journalists, Patrick Yabuama says the minority must allow the legal counsel of Mr. Jachikwesin to handle his prosecution while they attend to Parliament.
It's a very unfortunate situation that we are going through, but the minority is exercising their rights under the laws to go and solidarize with our colleague, Honorable Kwesin, who was sworn in a week ago. I want to entreat the minority to reconsider their decision because Honorable Kwesin is duly represented by very experienced lawyers who can fight his case for him. It's very important that we also get measured with what we do with regards to our responsibilities as members of Parliament. And as duty demands of us, we ought to be in the chamber to represent the people who voted for us. Yes, you can show solidarity, but you should not forget about your responsibility as a member of Parliament. So it's a right, it's a caucus decision, it's a party decision. I respect that, but I'm entreating them that there ought to be a limit to what they do, especially when we have business on the floor to partake.
Patrick Yabuama is MP for Okaikwe Central.
Still in Parliament, the Minister for Trades and Industry, Katie Hammond, says he is not perturbed by a contempt charge brought against him by the Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Jachikwesin. Now, Mr. Kwesin has filed the suit at the High Court to get the court to punish Katie Hammond for making what he deemed prejudicial comments in an ongoing case against him. According to Mr. Kwesin's lawyers, Mr. Hammond, in an interview, accused their client of being guilty of the case he's standing trial for and stated that he will go to jail. Here's the Member of Parliament for Adansia Sokwa, who doubles as the Minister for Trades and Industry, reacting to the suit.
How do you respond?
That what am I supposed to
comment that you go to jail?
What is I'm not sure if those lawyers understand what precedent is, but I think I predicated my statement with the fact that there is what in legal terms called a precedent. So I'll meet him in court.
Have you received it?
So I received it, yeah. They played some subterfuge on me. They played a game on me to serve me with a document. But, I mean, why would they have to do that? I accepted it.
Someone is a publication that accompanied it.
It is. I made a statement here in Parliament. If they want to take me up in court, yes, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where this matters end up. So what's the big deal about it?
So you hear there Katie Hammond, who is the Member of Parliament for Adansia Sokwa and Minister for Trades and Industry.
A Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Ntim Fodjo, says Ghanaians will not conform to any attempt to put pressure on the society to accept what he calls the sexual perversion being championed by a group as human rights issues. According to Reverend John Ntim Fodjo, the promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill aims at preserving the dignity and sanctity of Ghanaian values and culture. In an interview with Citi News after commissioning a library complex at Sechiama in the Eastern region, Reverend Ntim Fodjo expressed his optimism that all members of Parliament will unanimously pass the bill into law.
This bill, the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, is to protect the future generations, is to preserve the dignity and sanctity of our people, of our culture, of our values, and what define us. So it is predicted by UNESCO that by the year 2035, Africa is going to form 40% of the global population in this world. And so in the same way, it's been predicted that in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or latest 50 years, many of those countries that have legalized homosexuality, lesbianism, and have opened the floodgates for infiltration of LGBT are going to be extinct. Men are marrying men, they can't give birth. Women are deliberately cutting off future generations, willfully depriving the next generation of the opportunity to exist. That is most atrocious. It is even more atrocious than murder. And so that's how serious it is. We don't want Ghana to go into extinction. We are united. We are cohesive all across all religions and all beliefs and all political parties. Everybody, CDD has been done a survey that indicates over 86%. They are in support. So we are not going to give space for the minority whose sexual perversions want to determine the course of our norms.
You heard the Deputy Minister of Education and MP for Asin South, Reverend John Ntim Fodjo.
Now, the Ghana Health Service has inaugurated a 13-member interagency coordinating committee for health promotion. The committee has been tasked with the responsibility of promoting good health practice amongst the populace and also cause behavioral change. The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, in a media interview after the inauguration of the committee, said the committee's role has become crucial following an increase in non-communicable diseases.
It's not a new concept. We've always had that interagency coordinating committee for health promotion, basically to bring their rich resources, both in terms of their capacity, to assist us in surmounting these big challenges of health promotion and changing our behaviors and making sure, most importantly, how do we bring everybody on board, private sector, everybody, to be able to see how we can all achieve the goals. We are facing a more Herculean task now. The emergence and the rapid increase in non-communicable diseases is a major problem. This requires not just resources, but also major behavior change. We know from their diverse background, they can help us in navigating all the challenges, of course, so that we can improve the health of this country. We saw how COVID affected every sector of this country. And that's the way we want to ensure that we also tackle it in all society and all groups. And that's why we have this more diverse group helping us to promote health in the country. Apart from what they themselves will do, we always have assessment done from DHS, our own annual reports, our own coverages will help us to see whether the change in behavior is taking place, and if so, is it creating an impact, or do we have the right outcome? So there are many ways of measuring their performance.
Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje is the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. Meanwhile, the chairperson of the Interagency Coordinating Committee for Health Promotion, Professor Elsie Ifa-Kaufman, says the committee will work diligently to deliver on its mandate.
Our main purpose is to promote health. And so we have organized ourselves as a committee to be able to do that. We have subcommittees, and then we have all kinds of plans and activities that we'll be drawing up to be able to do that. So you will see us promoting health. You will see us trying to get the public sector to be interested in what government is doing. It's a partnership. And so you'll see us trying to encourage people to live a much more healthy life and organizing various groups across the country to do this, the same. Funding is always a challenge. This committee at the moment, as you see, our sponsor is the USAID. So we have some funding for the work of the committee for the moment. But of course, we need to sustain it. It's our health. It's our health as a country, so we'll need to prioritize this, the work of this committee, so that we can continue doing that.
Chairperson of the Interagency Coordinating Committee for Health Promotion, Professor Elsie Ifa-Kaufman.
Now, for 25 Ghana cedis, Ghanaian adults can have access to all the new Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. The mausoleum housing the remains of Ghana's first president remains open for commercial business beginning today, July 11, after a 30 million cedis redevelopment. We'll be going live to the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park shortly to speak to my colleague Charles Owusu-Kumi. Now, the park was reopened by President Akufo-Addo last week, and on Friday, the management of the facility closed the facility so that they will be able to begin commercialization of their place. And we have been speaking to the acting director of the park. We are joined on the phone lines by my colleague Charles Owusu-Kumi, who is currently at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. Good afternoon to you, Charles. Many thanks for your time. How is the facility looking like on day one of commercial operation?
Can you please repeat?
I'm asking are there patrons who have come on the first day after the facility was opened for commercialization?
Not many as were expected. We're told that it's because today is a working day, and so the authorities there, they are looking forward to the weekend where most people will be home and would come and see the refurbished facility. I mean, the patrons we saw were mostly expats, some of them African Americans who had come to visit the country. Most of them are foreign tourists. Not many local Ghanaian tourists who had come to see the place. Most of them were foreigners who have come to the country to experience Ghana. So to someone who had come all the way from Australia, says that she's a Ghanaian and has lived in Australia for many years. And she had brought her family, children, to visit Ghana, and they wanted to get a glimpse of the revamped Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. So she had brought her children to come and experience a bit of Ghanaian history. So yeah, if you're asking about the patronage, not as many people as you would expect on the very first day of the reopening of the facility. But they're encouraged that when the weekend comes around, there'll be a lot more Ghanaians there. We also asked about the pricing. We saw some tertiary students outside the gate because they didn't have 15 cedis to pay to enter. Tertiary students are supposed to pay 15 cedis. Ghanaian adults are supposed to pay 25 cedis, and then non-Ghanaian adults are supposed to pay 100 cedis. So we asked the acting director, Edward Kwao, if the prices won't deter young people from coming to experience the facilities. But he says that a lot of money has gone into it, and so they have to recoup that money and try and make some profit. So they're expecting that Ghanaians, if they prepare enough, 25 cedis, 15 cedis is not too much money if you're coming to see the first president of Ghana, one of the greatest leaders to have lived.
Grateful for your time. That was my colleague Charles Owusu-Kumi reporting live from the newly renovated Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. And that's how we end today's edition of the Citi Prime News, which has been live from our studios in Adabraka, Accra. For more news, please log on to citynewsroom.com. My name is Hawa Itrisu, and I was here with
Kweku Ediamansa.
Nashika Caesar is up next with the afternoon's edition of City Business News. Many thanks for your company. Do have a great afternoon.